Don't stop.
Hi, thanks for joining me. I'm Zach Randall Freeman. I'm your host of Everything and Anything and a Bit Gay. And I am reflecting back on the episodes that I've done over the last few months. I've covered the coming out story of Jesse Cordham, who was the hockey player that came out. He came out on Facebook and was just kind of doing it for friends and family that didn't know. And it blew up. It went viral. His post on his Facebook went viral. He was on the Drew Barrymore show and he was on many other shows. I got the fortunate opportunity to actually have him on my show and talk with him. He is an amazing person. I'm so happy that I got to talk with him. I feel like I'm his friend now. And yeah, he's amazing, and I'm really happy about that. I also got to talk with AJ Ogilvy, who is a basketball player that's in Australia that was secretly married to his husband for 18 months, and he came out, and I have to say, maybe one comment out of the thousands of comments that came in for the post and my DMs and emails that I got were all so positive. Everybody was so supportive of these two people coming out. But let's talk about coming out, because, I think it's one of the most hardest decisions of a person in an LGBTQ plus in their life. One of the hardest things to do, because you don't know what's really going to happen. And, maybe this is more for the people that are my straight listeners or my straight audience that listens to this. And maybe you get it, but I don't think you can get it until you're actually in that situation. Coming out, I've told my story about coming out in its own individual episode. I've talked about it throughout interviews that I've done over the past couple of years. And it's a really difficult decision because you never know what's going to happen. You never know if you're going to have that one friend or that one family member that's not going to accept it, and they are going to just exit your life. They're not going to be a part of your life anymore. And so it's just hard, but I have to say, once you do it, you have this pressure that is lifted off of you because you can be your authentic self. You can live your truth, and that is so important to do. I was lucky enough to have my truth come out, and I was able to tell friends and family when I was in my early 20s. And so I got to live a full adult life being gay. And that's why I found a husband in my mid-20s or a boyfriend that became my husband. And 27 and a half years later, here we are. We're still together. And so I've had a very fulfilling gay life, if that's what you want to call it. And some people never come out. They live in the closet because of their environment, or because they are in denial, or they got married to the opposite sex, and it's not that they didn't love that person that they married, but their feelings is for their same sex. They're gay, and they just avoid it. They try to maybe they'll experiment, or maybe they'll I'm sure dwell on it. So today my guest, his name is David. He's actually a friend of mine. David went to elementary, junior high, high school with my husband, Andrew. I met David about 10 years or more ago. We lived in the same town outside of Boston. He was married to a woman. He has 3 children. I know all of them. I was over at their house. We've been out to dinner, been over to their house for barbecues. And David did a transition where he started posting stuff on his Instagram. Well, first I'll back up that David was he athletic or skinny? I think he was just fit. He was toned, I guess, or he was on his way to being toned. He would go to the gym. He would eat healthy. He was not unhealthy looking at all. But then he did this transformation where he was very muscular, like doing competition shows and stuff. And I started seeing his pictures online and who he was hanging out with and one day I got nosy and started looking to see who's he following online and who's this guy Jesse that he's taking pictures with, and did some research and all this. I'm like, oh, the hashtags he was using, I think daddy was one of the hashtags, and all these kind of like LGBTQ plus terms that he was putting in his Instagram post and stuff. And so I started texting him, and basically he told me, or I asked him, he said, yeah, I'm out. And so we met for dinner and we talked about this during the interview. But I'm so happy. David seems so much more lighter now. I am so happy that he allowed me to help tell his story of him coming out, because imagine being in your early 50s and you finally decide to be who you are. You decide that finally. You've lived 50 plus years where you have not been your authentic self. You've been living kind of a lie in a way. And now you can be who you are. Imagine how freeing that is. David was able to find somebody that he cares about and that cares about him. He's like me when I was in my 20s. He wants to experience all these, the whole gay world, the whole LGBTQ plus world. We're going out next weekend to a couple of bars, and it's gonna be quite an adventure. And not that he hasn't already gone to bars, but it's like he's kind of like a kid in a candy store in a way. He's like going out and he's figuring out, what his circle is in the gay community and who his people are and stuff. So it's gonna be a really interesting, fun time to do this with David, and I'm looking forward to it. I love it that he came out. I'm so happy that he's being his authentic self. Again, he's so much lighter than from the last time I seen him before he came out. And he is just a happy person now. And I'm so happy for him. So enjoy my interview with David Weisman. I'm so happy that you get to hear his very incredibly valuable story. Thanks for listening. Hi, thanks so much for joining me on the Everything and Anything and a Bit Gay podcast. I'm your host, Zach Randles-Friedman, and today I have a guest that has been friends of my husband for a very long time. Since the third grade is how long they've been friends for. And David is here to tell his story today, which I'm really excited for him to tell, because I think it's not going to just be an interesting story. I think it's going to help a lot of people out there as well. So we'll talk about all that. But
Sure.
Welcome to the show, David.
Thanks for having me.
So David and Andrew grew up out in Long Island, and I know a lot of their friends because Andrew is still friends with a lot of them. So I've been on vacations with them and dinners with them, and every time we go into New York City, we usually see one or two of them. If we go out to Long Island, we definitely see them. So I know most of the circle of friends that you grew up with, and when you were growing up, being gay or even thinking about being gay was not anything that was really accepted. I mean, I think today I hear kids, that are in elementary and junior high are like changing their pronouns, or it's being more accepted in certain parts of the country, not everywhere, obviously. But, when I was growing up in Florida, there's no way I could have ever said I was gay growing up. I would have been bullied and terrorized, and it would have been the worst thing. I don't know. What was it like growing up in Long Island, though? Would it have been the same thing if you would have said, hey, I think I'm gay back then?
I would say yes and no. I think from my peers, for sure. Growing up in the 70s and 80s, it wasn't accepted. Seeing my kids now and their generations, I don't want to say tolerance, but their generation's acceptance. Gender fluidity, or really anything related to gender and sexuality. They don't care.
Yeah.
In the 70s and 80s, it was tough. It was the era of AIDS, and people were freaked out. And if you came out, there'd be like a scarlet letter around your neck or on your shirt. And you also didn't want to be different from anybody.
Right.
Conformity. I think people like to conform irrespective of if it was 70s, 80s, or today, just because that's where it's comfortable. It's easy to not stick out. It's easy to just be a part of the herd versus the animal on the sideline. And, for me, I think is no different than anybody who was questioning themselves back in the mid to late 80s. And, it was more, no, that's not me. It can't possibly be me.
Right.
I didn't want to be different from everybody else. I wanted to be just like everybody else. I wanted to have the girlfriend. I wanted to have, be good in sports, which I was not great at.
Were you attracted to girls growing up?
Yeah, I was. And, I had a girlfriend. I had a girlfriend in college, pretty much all throughout the 4 years I was in college. And then I got married to a woman. We can get into that part of the story a bit later. I was attracted, and I don't know if I was attracted because I thought that's what you had to be, or if I truly was attracted to women. I was certainly a late bloomer, and that also, I think, affected a lot of how I felt about myself, because I felt different. I felt behind everybody, and I kept quiet though a lot of that. It was interesting. My parents are very accepting, and there was an issue when I was 17, not an issue, but an incident when I was 17, and I wrote away to an ad in the New Yorker magazine.
Okay.
And there are millions upon millions of people in New York.
And this is just to give everybody a sense of what this means.
Yeah.
This is like, there was no internet, there was no apps, there was none of that anywhere.
No.
The way that you communicated to meet people was like through the like you're talking about at an ad in a
email, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So you wrote this ad and put it in.
I responded to this ad in the New Yorker magazine. You write New Yorker magazine, P.O. Box, whatever it is, New York, New York. Wrote my name, my return address, etc. My parents, I want to say they confronted me, but they called me into their room. Again, millions upon millions of people in the New York City area, right? Yep. We're talking 15, 20 million people. The person I wrote to was the son of a co-teacher of my mother's. 15 million people in the New York area.
And what was the ad that you were responding to? It just said looking to meet another guy or something?
Yeah. And I was curious.
Yeah.
I think he was 30 at the time, and I was either 16 or 17. I was curious, right? We all question our sexuality when we're in our teens.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I was questioning it. And so I wrote away. My parents called me in, and I was like, oh, shit. And, my parents didn't care. It was really interesting. And I remember the conversation, and we're talking, 54, so that's 37 years ago.
Yep.
And they didn't care. Look, my dad was in the garment district, so he was, he worked with many gay men. And so he didn't care.
Yeah.
And they just wanted me to be happy. And they still just want me to be happy. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it because I was 16 or 17 at the time. I didn't want to be different. I'm like, nope, it's not me. I was curious. That's it. I pushed it aside.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm dissimilar to a lot of people in the late 80s. We just pushed it aside because it wasn't a societal norm.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to be different. So pushed it aside, went to college, had a girlfriend for 4 years, pushed all of those things down. And I was like, oh, it's not me. See, I knew it wasn't me.
Yeah.
My parents were wrong, then whatever. And I fell into the heteronormative culture.
And did they ever bring it up to you again, though, after that?
They never did.
Okay.
No.
Okay. So then you go to school.
Went to college.
Go to college.
Yep.
Have a girlfriend.
Yep.
You get married.
Not to her. To a different one.
To a different one. Okay.
Yep. So I met my ex Um, 5 months after graduating college, we went to Israel for a year on a postgraduate program, volunteer program. I met her there. She was also on the program. She's from here in Massachusetts. I'm from New York. Um, then I ended up working in New York for a couple of years. She moved down to New York to go to grad school. Then I moved up to Boston to go to grad school. She moved up to Boston. And then we got married in 99. We had 3 kids, have 3 kids, not had, but we have 3 kids.
Yeah.
And my life was the heteronormative life.
And during the time you graduated from college,
Yeah.
through the time that you got married,
Yeah.
did you ever experiment? Because at that point you had America Online,
Yeah.
you had AOL,
Yeah.
you had websites, there was
Yeah.
more, Craigslist was available then, all those type of things. I mean, there was ways to do it other than magazines. Did you ever, experiment at that point?
Online, yes.
Okay.
In person, no. I was too nervous. And I'm like, this can't be me, right? Because my story was, this is not me. I'm getting married and going to have kids, and this is who I am.
Yeah.
And then the I don't call it the urge, but the desire, the whatever, couldn't be suppressed any longer.
Okay.
And so, she and I have discussed it. So she's aware that there were times in the marriage, later in the marriage, where I experimented.
Yeah.
And ultimately it ended the marriage because there just couldn't be any reconciliation of this aspect of my life and being married to a woman.
And did you feel like you were bi at that point, or you weren't sure what you were?
Yeah. I was hoping that I was bisexual, but I wasn't sure.
Okay.
And it was really hard.
And did she catch you, or did you just go out and she caught you?
All right. So fast forward to summer 2023.
Okay.
She and I would take walks. I work from home, so she and I would take walks quite often. And there were times during these walks where she was being very passive aggressive, very unlike her.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, something's up. I couldn't put my finger on it, but I was like, something is up. And I had said to myself, if she finds out, because I think it was just inevitable that something's going to happen, that I would fully admit it. Yeah, sure, this is me. It didn't quite work out that way. So summer of 2023, passive aggressive. We were going to the Cape for Labor Day weekend. 2 of my 3 kids were in the back seat of the car. They had their headphones in. I made sure they couldn't hear. And I turned to her and I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, we're going to have the conversation right here. I'm like, we are. So with whispers, we talked a little bit about it. And then that weekend, we took walks on the beach, and they were probably the most uncomfortable conversations I've ever had in my life. And I had said to myself, I would admit it, but I was not prepared to admit it. I'm like, I don't really know, but maybe I am, maybe I'm not.
But did you know at that point you were?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you know at that point that you probably didn't want to be in a marriage with a woman at that point too?
So for a bunch of years, I had said to myself, I'm resigned to this life. Mm-hmm. I'm resigned to, this is what it's going to be. I'm meant to live this way because this is the life that I chose and the decisions that I made. I had a responsibility. I had 3 kids. And I had a wife, and that was my responsibility. And my happiness and my personal journey was meant to just live this life. Mm-hmm. And I had thought to myself, maybe on my deathbed, I would say to my kids, hey, by the way, your dad's gay.
Yeah.
Which I could never do. Yeah. I'd be like, bye.
Yeah.
Bye, I'm gay, bye. But no, I resigned myself to the fact that that's how I was going to live. This was my lot in life. And I was not meant to be happy. And that was it. And I was like, okay, this is what it is. So anyway, so we talked Labor Day weekend, and we ended up seeing a marriage counselor. I ended up getting a therapist, and she's been terrific for me. And the marriage counseling didn't work out so great, as I'm sure you can probably imagine.
Yeah.
And it wasn't necessarily my ex. It was actually the marriage counselor who, there was a pattern of bias.
Mm.
And there were a few times where she would ask my ex, what does she need from me? She never asked me, what do I need? She asked me a few times, what am I talking about with my therapist? I'm like, none of your business. That's between me and my therapist. Then she had said I travel a lot for work, and my ex wanted to track my movements.
Boy.
So I turned on to Find My iPhone. Because the marriage house was like, that's a great idea. And I'm like, okay, so I feel like a prisoner. She's the warden. And I remember I was in San Diego for work, and I turned my iPhone, my location turned off. Within 30 seconds, I get a text, your location services are off. I'm like, I had no idea. That's so weird. So I knew she was testing me, and she knew I would test, right? So it was just not a great time in my life. And then there was a time I went to Dallas for work, and there are these two guys that I'm connected with on Instagram. And I said to her, I'm going to work out with them. Just simply work out, because guys do that. You don't have to have sex. So she said, thank you for telling me. And so I told the marriage counselor. The marriage counselor said, there are showers in the gym. And I was like, what? So I knew what she was getting at.
Yeah.
And I'm not good with conflict, so I just kept quiet. Went to Dallas, met the guys, worked out, we had dinner, I went back to my hotel alone. And I came back, and I said to my therapist, I need help confronting marriage counselor.
Yeah.
So we came up with a scheme. Not a scheme, but a
plan
to confront her.
Yeah.
And so she started talking in the next session, and I said, Emily, can I stop you for a second? I have something to say. She's like, oh, absolutely. I said, humans look for patterns in the world to help us make sense of the world. She said, oh, absolutely. I'm like, well, here's a pattern. Boom, 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 boom. And I said to her, and what did you mean by, there are showers in the gym? Because I know what you meant. I want to hear it from you. And she's like, like that. And she's like, my nerves. And so I'm for PG purposes, I'm not going to repeat what I said to her.
You can say whatever you want in this podcast if you want to say it.
Oh, okay. So I said to her, Emily, can I ask you a question? She's like, yeah. I said, do you go out on the street and look at a guy and say, I want to fuck that guy and fuck that guy and fuck that guy? She's like, I said, why do you think I would be any different? I said, your personal biases are terrible. And I said, do you think you can be neutral here? I said, because you haven't been. I said, I'm willing to give you one more chance. And she's like, oh, I can. Blah, blah, blah. So we're talking late February, early March 2024. So the next session, I said to my ex, I'm like, it's not working. And then we had just also decided that the marriage is not worth saving. We're going to get divorced. And so she wrote an email to the marriage counselor. Took her a week to get back to us. And then I wrote an email to her. That my ex, I showed it to my ex. She's like, well, I would soften it a little because I was angry. And so the gist of it was, I hope when you encounter couples like us in the future, that your personal biases don't come into play.
Yeah.
Took her a few days to get back to us, and she's like, blah, 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 blah. I have a gay uncle. I'm an ally of the gays. And I'm like, that was probably possibly the worst thing you can say. Like, I'm not racist.
Yeah.
So then my wife and I decided to get divorced. And then June of 2024, the day of the Pride Parade in Boston, I said to her, I'm going to go to the Pride Parade. And she's like, oh, okay. And then...
and you guys were living together, but really separate?
No, we were living together.
But were you like...
Same bed.
Same bed, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing changed from that perspective. And then before I went to the parade, she's like, what if you see people we know? And I said to her, it's a parade. I said, there are many straight people who go to the Pride Parade.
Yeah.
So later that day, I came home. I went to the parade, came home. It was awkward because I was there by myself. I didn't know anybody. I just walked around. I was like, I guess this is what it is.
But were you interested? Were you like curious? And we'll be right back. Okay, now back to the show. Were you like curious about that? Because I mean, were you ever in a gay bar before, or were you ever in a gay like?
So she and I had gone back. So I went to school in Vermont. After graduated, we went up to Burlington to visit a friend of mine, and there was one gay bar in Burlington, and we went, and we joked, and we're like, it's just like any other bar.
Yeah.
And like 30 years later, we still talked about it. Like, it's just like any other bar. And that was my only foray, I guess, into being in the gay bar until it's called 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So day of the Pride Parade, I came home. She wasn't home. Then she came home. She said, let's go for a walk. I'm like, okay, because that's what we would normally do that. She's like, I told my parents about it. I was like, so you just outed me to your parents without talking to me first.
Mm.
And look, I understand it's part of her story, and she needed the support of her parents. I get it.
Yeah. Mm.
It was truly shocking. And something I was just completely unprepared for. And so the next day, so that was Saturday. The next day was the only day that our three kids were going to be together for a 6-month time frame. So I had said to her that morning, I said, we need to tell the kids.
You were going to tell the kids about
me,
you being
the
gay?
Divorce and me being gay.
And the divorce. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So my kids were 17, 19, and 21 at the time. So this is 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. We sat them down in the family room. 3 of the boys were on the couch. I can picture it. I know where they were all sitting. I know where I was sitting. I know where she was sitting.
Yep.
I told them about me, and I started to cry. My youngest son just stared out the window, wouldn't even look at me. My oldest he's not very talkative. My middle son is probably the most emotional of the 3. Mm-hmm. And he said, it must have been really hard for me.
Oh. Yeah.
And it was. And my relationship with my youngest was not good after that. Probably he was also going into his senior year of high school. Mm-hmm. He was the only kid home. And where he is in his life stage is very different where the 2 older ones were.
Yes.
And he had to live it. And I don't begrudge him at all. And I felt terrible about it. Fast forward 2 years and his relationship with me is great. Like, he calls me to help him tie a tie, or he'll call me, for advice and stuff. And that's great. And we've come a very long way, but I'd say those 6 months were not good. So That was June of 2024, a Sunday. The next day I called my parents. I told them, I called my brother that day, that Monday, told him. The next day I have 2 aunts. I have a very small family. I called both my aunts. I called my 3 cousins on Tuesday. I was done with my family. Like, I ripped.
And what was the reactions? Was there a shock and surprise? Were they like, okay, whatever, or it is what it is, or we accept it? Like, what did they say?
My parents were, everything was a daze. I called my mom and I said, is Dad there? She said, yes. I said, put the phone on speaker. I cried. My parents have been absolutely amazing.
Yeah. You're lucky.
All of the fears that I had of coming out, of being accepted, mostly by my family, that was the most important. And even her family have been incredibly accepted. There was a time where, after she had told her parents that they just didn't reach out to me, and I felt terrible. I said they hate me. blah. And so I actually went over to their house. Her mom had reached out to me. I went over to their house, walked into the house, and I lost. We had like a few hour conversation. My family was extremely accepting, except for one of my aunts who said something just stupid.
What did she say?
So, so her husband was my dad's brother. So she's my aunt-in-law.
Yeah.
And my uncle had passed away 3 or 4 years prior. And she's like, you're lucky your uncle was alive. And I'm like, what? Fuck. Like, he would be accepting, so what the fuck?
Yeah.
And so I told her daughter, she's like, what did my mother say? And like, that was the only, I wouldn't call it negative, but it was just a weird response.
Yeah. Anytime you come out, there's always somebody that has a weird response because, they're, number one, she probably wasn't expecting it. Number two,
nobody was.
Yeah. And number two, you got to think about their generation where this isn't the norm, even though they, live in a world that's not like Arkansas or Alabama and they're South, where, you would basically have a burning cross in your front yard if you came out as gay. But, it's a different thing for them. So, I have, out of all the friends I told, I only had one friend that really, she paused, she got past it.
Yeah.
But my father, when I told him, he didn't talk to me for 6 months. We lived in the same house. So, and then after that, something snapped with him and we just became closer than ever. So, you're lucky your parents.
I was very lucky.
You're so lucky, and you're lucky her parents are accepting, and I'm glad you've kind of gone that. I also want to back up and just talk about the transformation that you did, because whenever I first met you, you were fit, but you weren't what you are today. So you've gone in competitions and stuff. So what year did that take place, and did that have anything to do also? And did that help you kind of meet people also?
So interesting story. Let me just fast forward to a year ago. So my ex's cousin, she reached out to me, and we were talking, and her father is my mother-in-law's brother. So,
okay.
But her mother said to my ex-mother-in-law, I think bodybuilding made David gay. And I was like, no, I don't know. No, but no. And so it's interesting. So, you go back to what you had said about my aunt, right? And people of that generation are like, oh, they're into their body. So they, it's gotta be that.
Yeah.
So, all right. So back in 2014, I had finished my 3rd or 4th Boston Marathon. And I don't know, I got into a little bit of, I wouldn't call it a clinical depression, but I had nothing to look forward to.
Yeah.
So we were walking around the neighborhood, and we had found one of our friends around the corner who was using this food system to lose weight, blah, blah, blah. So we decided to do it. And that started my journey. So when I was 43. So in 2015, I ended up starting CrossFit. I did CrossFit for 5 years. And in the pandemic, CrossFit was terrible because they just couldn't program stuff because you couldn't be next to each other.
Yeah.
And spending $200 and something a month, and you weren't getting what you wanted out of it, just wasn't working for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I said to my ex, I said, I'm going to leave CrossFit. And also she had lost her job. And so I was looking to save money. I'm like, I don't need to spend $200 a month on something I'm just also not getting anything out of. So she's like, you should talk to my coach. So I talked to her coach. And I remember sitting in my car right outside of CrossFit, and he didn't know me at all. And he's like, oh, you should do men's physique competitions. He had never seen a picture of me before. And I was like, no, I don't think so. But so that was August of 2020. In that same competition, I said, you know what? Let's do it. And I had always thought about it. I didn't have the confidence. to do bodybuilding or even change my body. But this one connection with my coach, Calvin, he's still my coach, changed my life. That one conversation changed my life from a physical perspective, but also from an emotional and mental perspective.
Yeah.
The discipline of eating and following a plan, the discipline of following a workout program really transformed my life. It also gave me confidence. I had been fighting myself for years, and there were huge burdens on my shoulders from not being able to be me.
Yeah.
And this was my first dipping my toe in the water of maybe being me and expressing myself. So I competed in 2021, 2022, and 2023. And I stopped competing because during the competition, I just wasn't big enough compared to the other guys, even over 50 years old, who had been working out for 30 years. And here I am working out for 3 years, not even. And I think the self-confidence really gave me the ability to be myself and not worry about what others thought about me. I still do. Don't get me wrong. I still worry, what people think of me. I don't worry about it, but I still am curious.
Yeah. But why? Why does it matter?
Because you want to be accepted.
But whoever's going to accept you is going to accept you for whatever. So it doesn't matter.
It's a vestige of how I grew up.
You're going to get past that, though.
Well, because I didn't accept myself. So
yeah, but you will get past that.
Myself, how can somebody else accept me?
But do you think you care less and less what people think of you though now?
I do. I care less.
Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, and one day you're not going to give a shit what anybody thinks.
Yeah, I've been working on that a lot. So that physical transformation transcended. It went across all of other aspects of my life.
Yeah,
work, personal life, my relationship with people, the ability for me just to take a breath and be myself. I remember So I work out with I have a workout partner who I've known for a decade. So he did CrossFit with me, and then he'd been following me on Facebook. And he's like, I don't know what you've been doing. He's like, but I want to get some of that because he saw my physical transformation. So we've been working out together.
Like he wanted to get some of that or some of that?
Some of the physical. No. No.
I gotcha. Okay.
Well played. I think I'm sweating now. And so we started working out together back in, I think, October of 23.
Okay.
He was the first non-family member I came out to. And it was at the gym, and we go to the gym at 4:30 in the morning.
And is he gay?
No.
Okay.
Nope. And I said to him, I have something to tell you. And I was so nervous. And I told him, and his response was, thank you so much for trusting me. And I was like, what? Like, I fully expected him to say, fuck no, right? Because all of the fears that you have, not you personally, but
a society has.
Yeah. And then the next person I came out to was my coach. And I was really nervous because I also am a coach on his team. So I have clients as well. And I didn't want it to be a reflection on his business. I didn't want it to hurt his business, or I was worried that it could hurt his business. And he said, are you happy? And I said, he's like, are you still the same person? I said, I am. He's like, then who cares?
And we'll be right back. Okay, and now back to the show. Didn't you have a lot of clients that were gay though?
3.
Yeah, I mean, so like it's not like it's like you're working out in this totally it's a hyper masculine world, I guess, but it's not like all these straight guys are coming in, and be like, oh yeah, no, fuck this. I'm not having a gay guy coach me,
I think if anybody sees or follows me on Instagram, it's pretty obvious that I'm gay.
Yeah.
And what's been interesting over the past 6 months, I've been more comfortable with posting. and I post more like inspirational things that just strike me, because of the things that I went through and the thoughts that I had to have. And it's been interesting that it's affected people. And they've reached out to me saying, thank you so much for saying what you said. It's exactly what I've been thinking, but you've been able to say it.
Yeah.
And that's been really great, knowing that I've had an impact on people and that I've helped them think through their fear. And so it's been really interesting. And then, I've been dating a guy seriously for 6 months, and you met him.
Yep. We went to dinner with him, and he's a great guy.
And I'm not hiding it anymore. I'm not hiding. I'll post, I'm not like, we're in love or whatever, but it's, hey, we went away together. Hey, we did this together, right? That kind of a thing. And what's been interesting is people that I grew up with have reached out to me to say, so glad to see you're happy.
Yeah.
So glad that you're happy. This is, you only have one life to live. And all of the fears that I had had. And look, I think my coming out experience probably is not the norm. It's been all positive. And I haven't run into anybody that has decided to not speak with me, except for the people who we had as couples friends. And I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
I went into
But that could be because of the divorce more than
of course.
the
not because I'm gay. No.
Yeah.
Divorce is hard and people don't know which side to choose. I'm like,
exactly.
That's fine. Totally fine with me.
Let me ask you, whenever you met me, or when we'd come to your house for food or dinners, and we'd go out to dinner and stuff. Did you ever think, maybe I could tell Zach or talk to me about it, because I wasn't part of that group.
Yep.
Like, I can understand where you wouldn't tell Andrew because you grew up with him.
Yeah.
But did you ever think, maybe I could say something to me about it? Did you ever think about that, or no?
We had eaten at Bocado, tapas restaurant in Wells.
Yes.
And I almost said something, not that night but I almost said, I think I can tell him or talk to him. And I shied away from it. And I was like, no, I can't do it.
Yeah.
But I remember that night. I remember exactly the table we were sitting at.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I think I have found somebody that I can talk to about it, but I fell back into my...
not knowing what was happening and being insecure about it and stuff.
So fast forward 10 years of knowing you, fast forward through this divorce, and my middle son has already met Jesse. And it was funny. He called me on Thursday. My middle son called me on Thursday of this past week, and I had posted something on Instagram, and it had the Coach Daddy shirt.
Yeah.
And somebody, I don't look at the comments that people make, but he does. And I totally forgot that he follows me on Instagram. And so he's like, can I comment on somebody's comment? I'm like, knock yourself out. Do whatever you want. Yeah. And then he said to me, he asked me, he said, are you and Jesse dating? And I said, we are. And I said, are you okay with that? He said, absolutely. And he had met Jesse twice already. But I don't think he put necessarily two and two together.
Mm-hmm.
And tonight, my oldest is here from New York for a week. And so I'm going out for dinner with him, and Jesse is coming.
And is this the first time he's meeting him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I said to my oldest, I said, Jesse and I are dating. He's like, we know.
It's obvious on Instagram, just so you do know. So, because the way that I thought you were gay for a while, and then not whenever we were at your house and stuff. I never thought of that.
My posts.
Your post, and I go to Andrew. I'm like, look, David's gay. Like, I'm going to ask him. He's like, no, don't ask him. And I'm like, I think he is, and maybe he would, maybe he doesn't have gay friends or whatever. He's like, don't ask him, and he just wanted me to not. He thought I was gonna I don't. He thought it was gonna like impact your friendship or something. I'm like,
Yep.
look, if he's not, then he's just gonna say no, I'm not, because
Right.
I'm like because we met a couple that you knew that were gay. We knew you had gay people in your life,
Yep.
so
Sure do.
I'm like, he's not gonna be offended if I ask him. I'll ask him in the right way. And then, then I don't know why I text you saying, oh, just so you know, we're back in Medford
Mhm.
and we're not in Natick anymore. And you said something about, oh, I'm out. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, you came out? And I think you were saying that you were out of Natick, but I
Yeah.
was like, I'm like, oh, and I go, oh, so you came out.
Yes,
You're
sir.
like, oh, that too. And so I and then I told Andrew, I said, see, we could have talked to him about this a long time ago.
Yeah.
And then after we had dinner with you and Jesse,
Yeah.
and you kind of told us some of your story and stuff. I'm like, see, we could have been there, for him and stuff. So
No, I appreciate it. I remember the text message was with you. It's like, what, 6 months ago or something like
yeah,
that. And I was like, I'm going to tell him. And
yeah,
I said it I didn't say it in like a very overt way, but it was more like, oh, by the way.
yeah,
And you're like, oh.
yeah. I mean, it's like I think everybody should live their authentic life and be happy. So,
Yeah.
and you took a long time to get there. And
Certainly did.
and if I think everything happens for a reason, because you have three amazing children from, what you did. So that could have been your reason, but,
Yeah.
and now you're like living your authentic, happy life. And now you're here on a podcast talking about it.
Yeah.
Where, a lot of people, and I'm sure people that you went to high school and junior high and elementary school will all be listening to this whenever I post it and stuff. Yeah. And, I don't think you're going to have one person that's not going to accept it. So,
but they can also just, if they watch this, they can also reach out to me.
Yeah.
If
good.
they'd like.
Yeah.
I'm open to conversation.
And, something that night, there was a text message that Andrew showed you or something that he has this guy group text. And, and I'll just tell you that none of those guys, it's like 4 or 5 guys that you went to high school with. Yep. They're all in this group text. I'm not allowed to be on it because I'm not one of the guys, and they talk about body stuff. But I'm like, you can't get bodier than the way I talk. So, but it's fine. He can have his little boys chat. But like I know Craig and Matt, and none of them care about any of this.
And I don't care if they care.
But they don't. They would never care. I mean, I just seen Matt and Keith in November at Andrew's mother's funeral, and both came up, gave me a hug. I mean, like, I'm invited to everything. I was invited to all their weddings and stuff. So like, they're totally like awesome guys. And, other people, I won't say last names, but like Sherry's amazing. Pam's amazing. Kim's amazing. Amazing. They're all of them. Every one of Andrew's friends that I've met have always just like taken me in, and I feel, and Ruthie, of course, is amazing. And they all have taken me in as if I went to school with you guys. I feel like I'm one of the group because I've known all of them now for over 25 years.
Yeah.
And stuff, and have been to all their weddings, been to all their bod mitzvahs for their kids and stuff, and all their celebrations and stuff. So I feel like, I'm one of them, and they never cared.
Oh yeah. I'm not worried about it. If they do, that's on them.
Yeah.
But they can feel free to reach out to me if they'd like.
Yeah.
I'm open to it.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how do you feel today? Like, do you have a sense of relief? Like you have a brand new life in a way, comparing it to 3 years ago?
The weight on my shoulders, the burden that I was carrying is gone.
Yeah.
The ability for me to, and I hate to use, be your authentic self.
That's what you got to be.
But it has been, it's been a work in progress. I remember saying to my therapist, she was the first person I openly used the words I'm gay to. Okay. And I was like, whoa, right? It was something, kind of thing. And she's like, how does that make you feel? I don't know. But, she and I talk about like months and months and months later, I'm like, oh, I came out. I'm like, that's it. We're done. Right? I don't need to work. I'm like, we're done. I'm out. And she's like, that's just the start. And it's trying to live into, what does this mean to me? My life is so different. I have my kids. which is great. And my ex and I have a relationship, which is good. There was a point, I think it was, so I moved out of the town that I lived in for 21 years. I moved into Boston to get out of suburbia because it's hard being a single gay man in suburbia. Nobody wants to go there. No,
it's hard to be a couple in suburbia as gay in that
Boston
town.
is a tough town.
It is.
But I've made friends through Jesse. I've made friends through another guy that I had dated for a little while. And I think it was 2 months ago, I was at Star Market. And I had a holy shit, my life is so different.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I had to take a second, and it's not being dramatic here. It was just like, it caught me off guard. That the emotional, like, tidal wave that I felt at that moment. So I called my closest friend. He's like, this is going to happen from time to time. He's like, you're going to feel this sense of overwhelming change.
Mm-hmm.
And for the most part, it's been good. But there have been points in my journey here where I'm like, oh, fuck. 2 years ago, I was living like this. I was living here. I was feeling like this. It was, I guess where I am now is where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
It's not without its challenges. I went out last night to a club. I went with a friend who I met at his house party 2 months ago. So I don't really know very well. But Jesse wasn't going out last night. So I'm like, I'm just going to go. Right? I just want to get out. So right now it's just trying to find where I fit in the gay world.
Yeah.
There are preconceptions of the way I look. You're supposed to be this kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I fit into, I'm trying to figure out, well, how do I fit into this community?
Yeah.
I fit into the heteronormative community very well because I knew how to do that.
Yeah.
And so part of me being my authentic self is trying to figure out, well, okay, how do I, where do I fit in? And yeah, there are times where I'm uncomfortable. Last night I wasn't uncomfortable. It was new for me. And I'm okay with doing these and having these experiences where it's my first time doing something or going somewhere and sitting in the discomfort. And then just trying to feel, how does this make me feel?
And did anybody talk to you last night?
Yeah,
did you
get? Yeah. So the guy that I went with, we met two of his friends who I know. We went to some guy's house and there were like 20 people there I'd never seen before in my life. And I was I'm very shy in the beginning when I don't know anybody.
Yeah.
I tend to be very quiet.
And gay guys can be intimidating sometimes too.
And I was clearly the oldest by a good amount. And I tend to observe before I speak, just to figure. And I hate small talk.
Yeah.
But I had to do it. So, I mean, the experience overall was positive. Going to the dance party, club, whatever you want to call it, was positive. I ended up leaving. The guys who I went with stayed later than me. I'm like, I'm going.
Yeah.
And I stayed however long I felt comfortable staying. And I mean, the guys were great about it. They're like, is everything okay? I'm like, oh, absolutely. I'm ready to go home.
Yeah.
So I guess it's really trying to find where I fit into this world.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. Okay, now back to the show. Well, I've interviewed several people over the last couple of months that are local to Boston.
Yeah.
And do you know Benjamin Smith, the realtor that wears the makeup that goes?
I have seen his reels.
Yes.
The guy in East Boston.
Yes.
Yep.
So I interviewed him and him and I did a clip. I took a clip from our interview that said, because I said, I think Boston gays are so fucking mean and they're cliquey and they all grew up here and never left, or they went to college and came back, and they don't want anybody in their circle.
Yeah.
Very much different from New York, right? So,
Yeah.
and so I put that clip up, and that clip has got over 130,000 views, and the comments are still coming in. It's been over a month.
That's great.
And this, it's but I'm tired of the no more comments. Like I want to move on from that interview. So, but I think that's the thing with Boston. Also, you just have to you're trying to find your way. But the gay guys here are not always so open. So the fact that you have a gay friend that took you out and introduced you, and you went to a house party that had 20 people, that's really amazing. So
it was so his house party 2 months ago. A friend of so Jesse introduced me to this group of guys. They go for a sushi dinner in Village Corner in Brookline, New York, once every 4 to 6 weeks. And I remember he's like, I want you to come. This is April of last year. I had just known Jesse for a month. I was like, you're uncomfortable. And I went. And so this one guy, Chris, who I've become good friends with, in December, he's like, I'm going to this play. It was called Sweeney Claus. So it was a take on Sweeney Todd, done by a group out of P-Town, but here in Boston. And he's like, I'm going to go. He's like, I'd like to come with me. And he's like, but I'm going to go to this house party before. And I was like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Do it.
Oh, but you did do it.
And I did it.
Okay.
And I did it. And there was one guy who I actually knew there. There was 2 other guys who I followed on Instagram who were there. And everybody was just, I was very shy. And they were welcoming. My experience, I think, is a little bit different. I agree with you that Boston's a tough town. It's very provincial. If you grow up here, you stay here. If you grow up north of Boston, you stay there. Grow up south of Boston, you stay there. You don't cross pollen.
Yeah.
And you have your friends. Like it took me, I lived in Natick for 21 years. It took me probably 8 years to get in with a group of guys because they're townies.
Yeah, they are.
And they're like, I don't need another friend because I have my friends who I grew up with. So you're right. You're spot on about that. I've been putting myself out there. So, I said, I need to make the most of coming out, and I need to fight my community and my people. And, Jesse opened the door for me, and then I walked through it. And, then it's the voice in my head saying, don't do it, like the flight kind of thing versus let me experience. What's the worst that can happen is, I'm not having fun. I just go home.
Yes, exactly.
The best that can happen is I make friends. And that's been a huge change for me, is just putting myself out there and try to find my way in the community. So,
I mean, you should go out anytime, like one of your friends ask you to go and do something, with or without Jesse, do it. Because you never know who you're going to meet.
Yeah, I did last night.
Yeah. And that's amazing. Like keep doing that, because that's how you're going to build your kind of core friendship. So,
and I'm still waiting for you to come out too.
I will come out with you for sure.
Yeah. I know Andrew won't.
No, he will. He will.
Okay.
Yeah, he will. He just, he has to just make sure he takes a big boy nap before we go out.
I need to take a nap too.
Yeah. But he will definitely come out. And if he doesn't come, we actually may have more fun. So,
that's fine too.
I mean, I'm so glad I got to meet Jesse. He's really great. I think, I hope that this is something that's going to be long-term, if not forever. I know it's only 6 months, but I think it's, I think I felt it. I mean, I felt that there was a good connection there. He's a completely different person than I thought he would be, because I follow him on Instagram. He is very shy. I never would have thought he would have been that shy and reserved. He got more comfortable during our dinner, towards the end. But yeah, I mean, I think he's great, and I think he's a good fit for you, and he's I hope it works, and I think it's going to.
He was nervous before we had dinner.
But why?
He's shy, and meeting new people is tough for him. and you and Andrew just made him so comfortable. Like watching when you and I were having a conversation, I looked over and he and Andrew were in this great conversation. I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
And after we left and the drive home, he's like, you were so great. I'm like, I told you.
Yeah.
And
we're not Boston gays. That's why.
No, and he grew up here too.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's super shy. He is reserved. He is thoughtful. He's so damn smart too.
And you guys just went away on was this your first kind of big trip together?
Yeah. Yeah.
And how did that go? Because that's when you really know somebody, is when you go away with them.
It went really well.
Good.
He's got friends in Tampa and St. Pete where we went.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to meet them. His closest friend lives there, who I had chatted with here and there. And I knew I was going to like him. I really liked him. And I can see why he's Jesse's closest friend. It makes total sense to me. And the other guys were really great. We went to Universal Studios. There were 8 gays at Universal Studios, and there were no arguments. We're like, we'll go here, we'll go there. Like it worked out really well.
Yeah.
And he and I are going away in early March. We're going to Columbus, Ohio. So my closest friend lives in Columbus, and it's the Arnold Classic Festival bodybuilding competition. My friend Gary is a classic physique bodybuilder. I was there last year for the Arnold Classic, and I said I'd love to come back, and so we're going. He gets to meet Jesse.
Is he gay or straight?
No, he's gay.
Okay.
And he's married, and so he and Corey now get to meet Jesse, and so I'm integrating like this in Jesse into it's been so great. Like yesterday, and I know I'm rambling a little bit here. Yesterday we had left the gym and we were going to pick up his mom, so we were going to this fundraiser for a soup kitchen. And I called my mom the way, so I wanted to say hi to her. She's on speakerphone, and Jesse's on the phone and talking to my mom. Like, this is great.
Yeah.
Like I'm not keeping things separate. I'm integrating him in. I'm integrating my family into this relationship, and that's what I want. And it feels right. It feels good. And same thing with integrating him with my kids, because they're the most important things to me.
Yeah.
And the fact that 2 of them like totally fine with you dating him, and I'm like, this is great. Like, this is where I wanted to be in my life.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I'm just going to say that I am so proud of you for doing this. I'm also super proud of you for coming on this podcast and talking about it, because if you think about how many people, will hear this and could be having the same feelings or went through the same thing, or somebody that is, younger and like, God, because people all over the world listen to this. So it could be somebody that's, in a country where being gay is not accepted or it's against the law in some ways. So just the fact that you're sharing your story, and I'm sure your story is more common than people know, but the problem is that they never are able to be their authentic self and come out. They live their entire life being married, having kids, because that's what society says is the norm, and they feel they don't do it. So I think you should just make sure that you reflect on that sometimes, about how lucky you are that you found who you are, no matter what age it was, and it's amazing. And I'm so proud of you that you did this. And it's amazing that how happy you are, how you're just such a different person. The energy when I met you for dinner, your whole vibe and energy is different. And it's really great. And so just thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story.
Thanks for asking me.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like I love telling these stories where people, went through something, and then they're survivors and they're an inspiration to people, because that's what you are. You're an inspiration to a lot of people. So thank you for being on.
Pleasure. Thank you.
I will put David's Instagram in the description of this podcast or video. So follow him, send him a DM, say hi. Don't put a comment, because he doesn't read his comments, we've heard. So, but his son will.
I read DMs.
Yes. Okay. He reads DMs, and you can see him and Jesse. And thanks so much for being on. And if you haven't subscribed to my podcast, please do. And also, if this episode resonates with somebody then share it with them. Thanks for being on, David.
Thanks, Zach.